Alright guys, so what I wanted to look at today is a system of equations. Now you probably saw systems 2-3 years ago when you did Algebra 1, definitely in geometry as well. But you saw a system of linear equations back then, where you had two linear equations with an x and a y, no squares, none of this dilly-dally fun stuff. But, you know, just a normal x and y. You were able to solve it by graphing. You could graph the two lines and see where they crossed. You could use substitution, you know, solve for one of the variables, plug it into the other one, solve it that way. You could also use elimination, where you got one of the variables to end up canceling each other out. So, you know, that's kind of what we're up to now. But now we're going to have a quadratic equation that we're going to be solving at the same time. You can still use most of those methods, but the graphing and the substitution are probably the best two. Elimination is a little bit more difficult because if I want to eliminate, I'm going to have to get rid of, you know, more than just a variable. In this case, with the y, it would probably be okay. But in other situations, elimination would be significantly more difficult as soon as you start to get the squares and the cubes and all fun things like that. So I'm going to recommend that we use substitution and graphing here. We're going to do substitution by hand, and then we'll do graphing on the calculator. All right, so let's go ahead straight into it. Since we know that y is equal to x minus 3, that means we can put x minus 3 in for any y. And so right there I've got a y, so I'm going to put x minus 3 in for it, and so I'm going to write x minus 3 equals x squared minus x minus 18. And so by doing this, this should then be able to give me the x value where the two lines cross. So let's go ahead and solve. We're going to subtract x and add 3 to both sides, so minus x plus 3, which will give us 0 equals x squared minus 2x minus 15. Of course, this will give me x minus 5 and x plus 3. All right, so that means x can equal 5 and negative 3. Woo, I'm done! No, you're not, Mr. Bauer. You're not done yet. Okay, so we're not done. We only got the x values. Remember, we're trying to find the values that work in both equations, which means not only do we need x, we also need the y value at each of those individual points. So let's go ahead and put these values in. You can put it into either equation. It should give you the same number. Let's just do it simple by putting it into the easy one. So y equals 5 minus 3, which would give me 2. That means when x is 5, y can be 2. So there's 1 point. We also need to put in negative 3. So y equals negative 3 minus 3, which is negative 6. So when x was negative 3, y is negative 6. So those are the 2 points where they should be crossing, the x and y values that work for both situations. You can double check. You can put this 5 in for x here. So that would give us 5 squared, which is 25. Minus 5 is 20. Minus 18 is 2. So we got y is 2, and you can do the same thing for the other one. And so these points should work in both of those equations. Of course, the other way to do this is by graphing. I'm not going to graph it by hand. You could. At this point, you do know how to graph this graph. You can find the x-intercepts, you can find the y-intercept, the vertex, all that fun stuff. You can draw a nice little quadratic graph. You can draw a linear graph, find out where they cross. But I'm just going to do it on the calculator right now. So I'm going to go into the y equals, and this is nice because it's already in that form. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in the two equations. X squared minus x minus 18 is the first equation. I'm going to push enter. And then I'm going to go to the other one, which is going to be x minus 3. And so now I want to graph. Now I don't know what window or zoom I'm at right now, so I'm just going to go into zoom, and I'm going to go zoom standard, so 6. Okay, so there we go. It's given me the graph of the quadratic and the linear. You'll notice they're crossing at 2 little places there. So I need to calculate where they're running into each other. So second calc, we're going to go to the intersect, number 5. You can see the buttons I'm pushing over here on the right side. So the first curve is the x squared. The second curve is the x minus 3. See, it's asking for a second curve, x minus 3. And then it wants a guess. So you'll have to do it twice. So I'm going to arrow over here and push enter. So I'm going to guess something around here, and it gives me negative 3 and negative 6, which is one of the answers. You would have to repeat the process and guess something a little closer to this to get the other one, which then should be 5, 2. Woohoo!